Hi everyone, I'm Jamie from Hackle. In this video, I'm going to go over the steps of using React SDKs in order to integrate with Hackle. SDKs are essential in order to use Hackle's products and services, as you need to sync your digital product with us in order to retrieve the data to the Hackle dashboard and allow us to perform all the requests required for A/B tests, feature flags, and data analytics tools, which are all tools that product, design, marketing, and engineering teams need in order to deploy the features that matter the most and create the best digital product for their users. You can use Hackle with websites like the Hackle website you see here, or mobile applications, server or client environments. It really does not matter whichever environment. You can still test and experiment and analyze the data of your product with all your features accordingly. Today we're going to not cover just SDKs, but the code work needed in order to start your first A/B test on the Hackle dashboard. Hence, in this video, we're going to be A/B testing between the purchase button color features of blue and red. The hypothesis I will set is that if the purchase button changes from blue to red, more users will purchase the product. Now, once we're in the dashboard, because we want to perform Sdk integration, we're just going to move into the Sdk Integration tab located in the left menu of the dashboard. If you are a developer or engineer setting up Sdk integration for your team for the first time, please click into the Find Out More About SDKs to access our documentation that has detailed instructions on setting up your SDKs. Because today we're dealing with React SDKs, we're going to navigate into the instructions for React SDKs and click into the first step, which is Sdk integration. So the first step in Sdk integration would be step 1, which is adding your dependencies. And all you're going to do here is copy the code here and paste it into the source code for your project with the React source code. The second step would be the Sdk Initialization step. Again, you're going to copy this code and paste it into your source code for your project with the React source code. And here in the place of your app, you're going to add the code that corresponds to the route that applies to your application. And other than this add-on, there's another key you have to input, which is your browser's SDK keys. And this is a unique value that can be only found from your dashboard in the Sdk Integration tab. As you can see here, there are different SDKs you need to input depending on whether or not you want to integrate the development environment or the production environment. And in cases where you are using the local server for development and test cases for developer environments, you should use the development SDK keys. And in cases where you're servicing and setting up for real users in the production environment, you should use the production SDK keys. And in this demo, we will be using the production SDK keys, where the new A/B tests and feature flags that are set up will have a direct impact on real users. As you can see here, each environment is further divided up into server, app, and browser, and you would use the SDK keys that is right for your specific use case. Because we are using React and React only operates in the browser environment, we will copy and paste the browser SDK keys and paste it into the section back in our source code that says your browser SDK keys. Once you completed this step and initialized and added your dependencies, we're just going to go back to our website and refresh this page to just make sure that everything is performing well as intended. And as you can see here, our website is up and running. And we're also just going to go back to our dashboard and we'll just refresh this page right here. And we can see that there's a blue check mark next to the status of Sdk integration for your production environment. So we can see that the Sdk integration stage has been successful. Now that we have completed the Sdk integration stages, we're just going to move on to setting our first A/B test from the dashboard. But before we do that, we're going to set up our user identifiers. And Hackle places great importance on tracking unique users involved in an A/B test or for data analytic tools, as tracking unique users in a page, website, or app allows for accurate results. If you are using React SDKs, this code is more than enough, as our SDKs, our React SDKs, internally manages user identifiers. However, in this demo, we're going to manually set up our own user identifiers. And in order to do so, we're just going to go back to our docs where it says user identifier and property. And instead of using the ones that are internally managed, for number 1, we're going to set up our own, which is number 2. So we're going to copy this code right here and paste it here. And we're just going to label this as user 1 as the person using my application. And after you set up your user identifier, we're just going to move back to our dashboard and create our first A/B test. So here we're going to just enter the A/B test details. We're going to start with the name, and because we wanted to check out the purchase button color change, we're going to enter that here accordingly. The description and hypothesis is optional, so we'll just move on to defining our test group A and B. Our test group A is the original version, which is the color blue. And in test group B, we're going to add in our new version, which is the color red. And now we can just press create. So now that we created our A/B test, you're probably wondering, how do we define a winning test group? And is there a quantitative measurement in order to come to a conclusion that test group B is performing better than test group A, or vice versa if test group A is performing better than test group B? So in order to evaluate that, we actually have to set our own metrics. And we're going to do that by clicking set metrics. And if you click on this, we're going to see a pop-up, and we're going to actually create our new metric for this specific A/B test. Because we want to see if they actually click the purchase button more, we're going to name this as click rate. And we would also have to set our events. Whenever a user presses the purchase button, this is the event that will be triggered whenever the purchase button is clicked. So we're just going to name this event as purchase. And because we're actually setting this up from the dashboard, this event will also have to be configured, defined, and logged from our code, which I will do so real quick after I save this. So once that is saved, we're going to have to go back to our code to not just set up our events, but also set up our different test groups for our traffic distribution. So now we're just going to move on with the traffic distribution code work, where we basically enter the logic for each test group or each version of the A/B test that different test groups are exposed to. For example, test group A would be exposed to a certain logic, which would probably be, in our case, the blue purchase button, and where test group B would be exposed to the red purchase button. So we need to make sure we set up the code for that. So in order to do so, it's pretty simple. You're just going to go back to our docs, and we're just going to similarly copy and paste this code right here back to our source code. Just going to move that below, and we're going to copy and paste, our code here. And because test group A is our original version, we're just going to copy the original code that created our blue purchase button in the area here. And for variation B or test group B, we're going to change this from blue to red. And after that is set up, now the most important part is making sure we're linking this A/B test we just created from the dashboard to the code and logic that we are working with right now. So in this case, the experiment key is number 5. So we're just going to copy that number 5 back to our code where we define the different logic for the different test groups or different versions. And we're just going to copy number 5 in here. And now we have set up our logic or code for the 2 different test groups or the 2 different versions that the 2 different test groups would be exposed to. So when users actually click on the purchase button, logically, they would be able to, or they should be able to trigger the purchase event that we set up from our metrics from our dashboard just now. And so the next logical step here would be to set up our events in order to collect the data on user behavior or the events that we just set up. And this is called events. So similarly, if we copy and paste the code here back to our source code, every time a user clicks on the purchase button, the purchase event will be tracked or triggered and sent back to the Hackle dashboard in order to allow us to gain valuable insight on whether or not test group A clicked on the purchase button more or test group B clicked on the purchase button more. So now all the code work is complete here. So if we quickly go back to our page that was created with React, you can see that the page here is actually a page with the A/B test code logic coded in. And hence, now if you do press on the purchase button below, this purchase button or event is triggered and will be sent back to our dashboard. Now we are ready to start our A/B test. And you will be able to see the start button on the right. If we press start, you can either choose to allocate this A/B test to 100% of your users or gradually increase the percentage of users that are exposed to your A/B test. So you can actually choose just 10%, 20%, 30%. But in this demo, we're going to set this up to 100%, and we're going to start our experiment. So now you can see here that your A/B test is up and running to 100% or all of your users and visitors to your page. And as you can see here, out of that whole traffic, 50% is allocated to test group A and would be exposed to the original version, which would be your blue purchase button. And the other 50% would be allocated to test group B or exposed to the new version of your purchase button, which would be your red purchase button. So now if we go back to our page created with React, and then we refresh this page, we can see that for user 1, they were allocated to test group B because the screen we see here now is the red purchase button, which is for the new version or test group B's version. But because we managed our user identifiers ourselves, if we actually change the user from user 1 to user 2 and see which test group user 2 was allocated to, we can see here that because it's the blue purchase button, user 2 was allocated to test group A. So here, if we press on the purchase button, we can see that user 2 is pressing on the purchase button multiple times. And I'll show you how the event is tracked on the dashboard. But before we check out how the event is tracked on the dashboard, if we check out the live tab, it actually shows the number of times each user 1 and user 2, were exposed to the different versions. So this isn't events, it's just exposure count. So how many times each user was exposed to each page. But if we go to event management and we click on the purchase event key, and if we go into live, we can see the number of times this specific event was triggered. So just now, I clicked on the blue button twice. So you can see here that it says user 2 triggered this event 2 times. So right now we're just going to go back to our A/B test tab and click on our running experiment that we just created. So here, while you are running an A/B test with us, if you click into each A/B test after each hour, you'll be able to see the updated results for the click rate metric that we just created within the data summary tab. So after you see the updated results here, after each hour, you'll be able to make, you and your organization will be able to make your key business decisions based on the results you see. So now I have just completed the React SDK integration in order to not just create an A/B test with this, but conduct an A/B test in order to collect meaningful results on the Hackle dashboard. If you would like to try this out yourself, please feel free to create a free account with us at www.hackle.io. And as long as you have a Google account, you'll be able to log into our dashboard to try out all these features for free. So thanks for listening, and I'll see you next time.